What happens to your mind and body when you keep failing the NoFap challenge? Here's the science and secrets you didn't know. Before we dive in, quick question. Did you know that nearly 70% of people who start the NoFap challenge relapse within the first month? If you've been stuck in a cycle of short streaks, frustration, and guilt, keep watching because this video might be the key to finally breaking free. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And drop a comment below if you've ever struggled with NoFap or any addiction. Your story matters. Introduction. Are you chasing motivation or the right strategy? Have you been banging your head against the wall, trying to quit pornography or masturbation with the NoFap challenge? Maybe you start strong, only to lose willpower within a few days or weeks, feeling worse about yourself each time you fail. You might think what you need is more motivation or a new trick, but what if it's none of that? What if what you truly need is the right strategy grounded in psychology, biology, and real-life behavior science? Let me take you through a famous experiment that gives us a profound insight into addiction and why typical willpower-focused approaches often fail. The Rat Experiment. Why environment and connection matter more than willpower. In the late 1970s, a revolutionary study by Canadian psychologist Dr. Bruce Alexander flipped the script on everything society thought it knew about addiction. Until then, most mainstream theories suggested that addictive behavior stemmed primarily from the addict's character flaws or weak willpower. But Dr. Alexander suspected something deeper was at play, something rooted not in the individual, but in their environment. To test his theory, he conducted what is now famously known as the Rat Experiment. He started with a control setup that mimicked traditional addiction research. Individual rats were placed in small, sterile cages. These cages had little to no stimulation. No toys, no tunnels, no companions. Just two water bottles. One contained plain water, the other laced with morphine or cocaine. Predictably, in this bleak and lonely environment, the rats overwhelmingly chose the drug-laced water. They drank compulsively. Some even did so to the point of overdose and death. This setup seemed to reinforce the dominant idea at the time, that drugs themselves were so inherently addictive that once exposed, any creature, rat or human, would fall victim. But Dr. Alexander wasn't convinced, so he designed a radically different environment, Rat Park. This new habitat was spacious, colorful, and filled with engaging features, running wheels, nesting areas, and plenty of room to explore. Most crucially, it included other rats. These animals could play, mate, groom each other, and live in a community. Just like in the isolated cages, they were also given access to two bottles, one with pure water and one spiked with a drug. But here's where everything changed. In Rat Park, the rats barely touched the drug water. Some tried it out of curiosity, but the vast majority chose the plain water. None became addicted, none overdosed. Many actively avoided the drug altogether, even when it was available right in front of them. What does this tell us? A lot more than it seems on the surface. Dr. Alexander's conclusion was profound. Addiction isn't just about the substance. It's about the absence of connection, purpose, and stimulation. The isolated rats weren't addicted because of the drug. They were addicted because their lives were unbearable. They had nothing else. But in Rat Park, with fulfilling social bonds in an enriched environment, the same drugs held almost no appeal. This experiment mirrors a painful truth about modern human society. Many people today live in their own form of isolated cages. Think about it. Someone working long hours at a stressful job, living in a tiny apartment, cut off from real human interaction, bombarded by digital noise but starving for emotional connection. They may feel lonely, anxious, or numb. In that state, addictive behaviors, whether drugs, porn, alcohol, gambling, or even social media, can become the only escape valve. And it's not just opinion. Neuroscientist Dr. Gabor Mate, a renowned expert in addiction, echoes the same belief. The question is not why the addiction, but why the pain. According to him, addiction is often a symptom of deeper emotional wounds, childhood trauma, neglect, abandonment, or simply a lack of belonging. People don't reach for dopamine hits because they're weak. They reach for them because they're hurting. Let's look at some real-world examples. Consider the opioid crisis in America. Rural towns where factories have shut down, jobs have vanished, and communities have disintegrated are also the ones hardest hit by addiction. That's not a coincidence. In places where people feel hopeless, disconnected, and forgotten, addiction thrives, just like the rats in the barren cage. Now contrast that with countries like Portugal, which took a radically different approach to drug addiction. In 2001, Portugal decriminalized all drugs and redirected resources toward treatment, housing, education, and job support. The results? Overdose deaths, HIV infections, and drug-related crime plummeted, because instead of punishing addiction, they focused on rebuilding community and offering support. In other words, they built a human version of Rat Park. Here's another layer to consider. Many of us believe that sheer willpower should be enough to overcome addiction, that if someone really wanted to stop, they just would. But this experiment shows how flawed that thinking is. Even the most determined individual will struggle in a toxic, lonely, or chaotic environment. You can't expect someone to get better while they're still stuck in their own psychological cage. Healing requires more than resolve. It requires reconnection. In essence, the Rat Park experiment reframes addiction not as a moral failure, but as a biological and emotional response to deprivation. When you give people, or rats, a meaningful life filled with connection, purpose, and joy, their need for artificial stimulation fades dramatically. So what can we learn from this? If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, the first step isn't blame or shame, it's compassion. Ask, what's missing in this person's life? Is it connection, purpose, safety? Once we shift our focus from punishment to healing, from isolation to integration, we create the conditions for recovery. Addiction is not about bad choices. It's about unmet needs. And the solution isn't just sobriety. It's rebuilding a life worth living. The loneliness epidemic, why we're more vulnerable than ever. In our modern world, survival needs like food and shelter are easier to meet than ever before. Entertainment is literally at our fingertips 24/7 through the internet. Yet we are starving for meaningful human connection. A study published in 2019 found that 25% of millennials reported having no close friends, and 1/3 said they feel extremely lonely very often. If you feel isolated or lonely, it's no surprise you might turn to pornography or masturbation to fill the void. It's the human version of a rat in an empty cage. Science confirms this link. Neuroscientific studies show that social isolation activates the brain's reward pathways similarly to addictive drugs. Lonely individuals often experience increased cravings for dopamine hits through easy pleasures like porn. Loneliness also impairs the brain's prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for self-control and decision-making. How to escape your cage, the real NoFap solution. If you want to finally overcome addiction, the answer is simple but challenging. You must create your own human rat park. This means intentionally building meaningful relationships and fulfilling your social and emotional needs. Without this, willpower and motivation alone will eventually fail. What happens in the first 7 days of NoFap? The energy surge and its pitfalls. Here's a surprising fact. Most people experience a massive increase in energy and alertness during the first week of NoFap. This is linked to hormonal changes, including a slight uptick in testosterone and dopamine sensitivity. But this energy surge can be a double-edged sword. If you don't channel it into positive habits, the excess energy becomes restless and leads to frustration or relapse. You might experience mood swings, irritability, or heightened anxiety as your brain struggles to rewire from the addiction. Call to action. If you're starting NoFap, hit like and comment below on what you're feeling during your first week. How to harness this energy, build habits that transform your life. The most important NoFap secret? Don't just count days. Use the energy you gain to build habits that improve your life. Here are some proven strategies. 1. Physical exercise. Science shows regular exercise boosts dopamine naturally and improves mood. It also raises confidence by transforming your body and improving health markers like cardiovascular fitness. Example: many NoFap success stories attribute their breakthrough to starting a workout routine within the first week. 2. Mindfulness and meditation. Meditation rewires your brain to be more present and less reactive to cravings or negative emotions. Studies confirm it increases gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, enhancing self-control. 3. Skill development channel. Your energy into learning a skill or working on a passion project. Success and mastery stimulate dopamine pathways, replacing the addiction cycle with a healthier reward system. 4. Social interaction. Use your extra energy to intentionally engage with people. Attend meetups, start conversations, try dating apps, or simply be more present with friends and family. What happens between days 8 and 30, the crucial window for building momentum? This phase is often the make-or-break period for many trying NoFap. Research on habit formation shows that it typically takes around 21 to 30 days to build a stable habit, but the initial enthusiasm usually fades after the first week. During this time, your brain is rewiring to reduce dependency on pornography. You will face intense urges and emotional lows. Social support and routine are critical for maintaining momentum. Personal insight. When I first tried NoFap, I didn't realize how vital this period was. My streaks would end because I didn't replace my old coping mechanisms with new habits. Real-life examples of transformation through habit building. Take John, a 28-year-old who struggled with porn addiction for years. He started NoFap but relapsed repeatedly until he focused on building a gym habit and joined a local sports club. Within 30 days, his body changed noticeably. His confidence skyrocketed. He made several new friends. His urge to relapse dropped significantly. John's story highlights the critical link between physical, social, and psychological changes. What happens after 30 days? The shift from survival to thriving. Once you reach 1 month of NoFap with habits in place, you start moving beyond mere survival and into thriving. Dopamine receptors begin normalizing. Emotional regulation improves. You start to experience deeper satisfaction in life beyond instant gratification. Social connections become stronger and more fulfilling. Why NoFap alone is not enough? The missing piece. NoFap does give you more energy, mental clarity, and confidence, but it does not automatically improve your social or dating life. Without deliberate effort to build friendships, pursue passions, improve communication skills, and cultivate intimacy, you're likely to fall back into old patterns. The science behind intimacy and addiction recovery research in psychology shows intimate relationships release oxytocin, a hormone that reduces stress and fosters bonding. Healthy intimacy rewires your reward system, replacing addiction with genuine connection. Couples therapy and social skills training are often critical for addiction recovery. What happens after 90 days? The new you? If you can sustain your new habits and relationships for 3 months, studies suggest your brain circuits can stabilize around non-addictive behaviors. Your self-identity shifts. You start seeing yourself as someone who lives beyond addiction. Your social circle supports your new lifestyle, reducing loneliness. You experience lasting improvements in mental and physical health. Conclusion: the ultimate NoFap strategy is about life, not just abstinence. To sum up, addiction is often a symptom of unmet social and emotional needs. NoFap gives you energy, but that energy must be used wisely. Building habits that improve your body, mind, and social life is the key. Creating meaningful relationships is the ultimate way to escape the cage. Counting streaks is pointless without these foundational changes. Before you go, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more science-backed self-improvement tips, and share your own NoFap story or struggles in the comments below. Let's build a community where nobody has to face addiction alone.